take a look at entering rail cars manually into the SCMS system. This is our home page, and you want to go to the rail log with the rail engine icon. Ideally, you're going to have an account with the BNSF or the UP or any other railroad that's going to provide you with reports by email or on demand from the web that we can then import directly into your system. If that's not the case, or if there are rail cars that report has skipped, then you're going to need to manually enter cars into the system. We're going to start by selecting a terminal. You may have one or many, and there are 5 status here. The first one is transit, which means rail cars that are on their way from whatever their shipping location was to your local railroad yard. Your service rail yard is the next status. These cars are maybe constructively placed and waiting to come over to your facility. And then there is on-site unload. On-site unload are cars that are on your site. They are incurring demurrage and they are being unloaded. Now, when we're going to manually enter cars, we may have notice of them weeks before they arrive at our facility, in which case we would enter them on the transit page. But in this case, let's take a look at entering cars that have arrived unexpectedly at our facility and need unloading. One of the key things to understand here is that many of the fields in the detail portion of the screen are all usually filled in by the railroad, and it is not data that the system controls. So they may spell things differently, each car or each shipment. What we want to know is the rail car, and then connect to it what product is in it and what client is it for. So if you've got a lot of rail cars to enter, do not worry about all of the extra fields that the railroad's auto import will fill in unless there's something there that's essential for you to know today, because we're going to be putting all this in manually. So our first one, our box 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we'll choose a status of unload, and we'll go right to the very next line, our box 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. Once again, we're saying status unload, and then maybe we have an A box 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, status unload, and maybe we got in a TTLX car with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 status unload. When we see the pencil over on the left-hand side, we know that that record has not yet been written, so we can click on that pencil to save that record. We now have 4 rail cars that we've quickly entered in. And the place date, which is the date record of the rail car arriving at our facility, is assumed to be today's date. We can adjust that here if it was actually placed a day ago, or if it was placed 2 days ago, which is of course important when we're tracking our demurrage. So take a moment to correct your place date. Now, the next key thing that we want to make sure we keep track of is the content information. Now you're looking at this saying, what about the shipper? What about the content and the comment? None of these are critical to us. They would come automatically from the railroad. The one thing that you might take time to fill in is keep track of these are UP cars, and these are BNSF, or whatever your carrying railroad is, so that you can keep track of maybe some statistics. You can fill any of these in if you want, but it is not necessary. What is necessary is to go to content information. We have our same 4 cars, just some different data that's going to be shown. And we want to choose what is in each of these cars. And maybe the first one is full of bolts, and the second one is full of caps, and the third one is full of elbows, and the last one, not reducers, but T's. Now, who is our client on all of these? We're going to call it Incana at this point. You want to know who is going to be my inventory client, who is the owner of these cars. And that is the data. Let's save this last one. That's the essential data. We now have the critical data in. There are other fields, that would be auto-populated by the railroad's information. If we have that information, we could put it in. If we knew that we had advanced shipping notices on these two cars, we might mark that so that we know to call our shipper on the R box and the TTLX and request that advanced shipping notice. But even though, as I've said before, there are blank fields here, they're not being used by the system on a regular basis. We have put in the car numbers, the product type, and the client, and as we made note, the rail line as well. And we've got our basic information in. So we can get a lot of cars in quickly if we need to. So this is how we manually enter cars into the rail planner. Now, when we release these cars unloading on site, we're going to mark them as released. So check the box to request release. We have requested that the railroad pick up this car and this car today. Save our record. And we also confirm the warehouse complete box is for you to keep track of, has the warehouse emptied these cars? And we know that we've got the paperwork in hand for these two cars. So they are unloaded, and we have marked that we've requested release for the railroad, where the A box and the TTLX we have yet to unload. That's what this screen is telling us with the check marks right now. Oh, here comes one of our warehouse guys. He gives me the paperwork for the A box, and I mark that that car is now warehouse complete. They have unloaded that car. So we can contact the BNSF either by the web or rail, or by phone, excuse me, and release the A box when they come by later this afternoon. We've marked that we have communicated to them that the release is in. So we have manually entered some information. We have marked release and warehouse complete and ASN information. When they come and pick up these cars, we're going to mark them all released. They are gone, and we've updated the status from unload to released. And the next time that we check our release list, we'll see those cars in the release list along with other cars we've released previously. And if we go back to our unload list, all we will have left is that TTLX, which we are still waiting to get paperwork from the warehouse confirming that they've got that thing unloaded. So I hope that this gave you a quick introduction to manually entering cars in the rail planner. Have a good day.